India is the largest democracy. We are a land with various cultures and faith. But recently, according to research from the US Holocaust Memorial Museum, India is at a high risk of being number 2 for a genocide. It was during the Holocaust that the term genocide was created. The efforts of the Nazis to eradicate the Jewish population was an example of mass extermination.
Others among the original total of 350 inmates were shot down by German elite guards as they dashed from the prison huts to celebrate the arrival of American troops outside the city. The atrocity story is told by the few who managed to survive. They relate how 12 SS troopers and a Gestapo agent lured 220 starving prisoners into a big wooden building at this camp, sprayed the structure with an inflammable liquid, and then applied the torch. Machine guns set up at various vantage points mowed down many victims who ran from the burning building. Some miraculously escaped the hail of bullets, but were electrocuted by the live wires of a fence, which was the final hurdle for those fleeing the flames.
Genocide was declared an international crime in the 1948 United Nations Genocide Convention. We could define genocide as an act committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. This could be done in many ways. For instance, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, and forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Keeping this definition in mind, we can correlate it to the situation in India with the recent attacks on minorities. Recently, the Amnesty International USA, Genocide Watch, and 17 other human rights organizations expressed concern at the plight of Muslims in India and said PM Modi is pushing India to massacre Muslims. Dr. Gregory Stanton, president of the Genocide Watch, said, as the leader of India, he has an obligation to denounce genocidal speech, yet he has not spoken against it.
In the meeting in Hardwar, and that has been used by the Indian government also against Muslims. It is polarization, which includes this anti-Muslim hatred, and it is the kind of preparation that we are seeing right now, where this dehumanization is being preached. So we are warning that genocide could very well happen in India. U.S. Holocaust Museum is right about that. One of the first genocides that I predicted way back in 1989 was in Rwanda when I lived there. And I could see from the ID cards where it identifies Tutsis and Hutus and Twa and so forth, that these cards could be used for genocide. And when I asked the president of the Supreme Court, who was a Hutu himself, couldn't you outlaw this, making these ID cards not have these ethnic identifications on them? He said, no, we don't have judicial review here. So you're going to have to talk to the president. So I got an appointment to talk to President Habyarimana. I went in, we talked. I said, these ID cards could be used for genocide. At that point, and I said, you have to get this off of the cards. A sort of mask went down over his face because he didn't want to hear that. It turned out he was, of course, a leader of some of the genocidal massacres that had occurred earlier in that country. But as we left that meeting, I said, Mr. President, if you don't do something to prevent genocide in your country, there is going to be a genocide here within 5 years. That was in 1989. The genocide developed. The hate speech developed. All the early warning signs developed. And as we know, 800,000 Tutsis and other Rwandans were murdered in 1994. We cannot let that happen in India.
He was referring to the Haridwar Hate Conclave, where speeches were made to incite a genocide against Muslims. not just this, whether it was the Gujarat riots in 2002, the recent auctioning of powerful Muslim women on the Bully Bhai app, or the Citizenship Amendment Act, there have been many ways that the ruling party has tried to silence the people with a voice. The political atmosphere and current situation of bigotry and hatred is making it harder for Indian Muslims to survive.